My name is Lon Safko, co-author of the Social Media Bible, published by John Wiley & Sons, the most comprehensive book ever written on the subject of social media. And today we're here with Dharmesh Mehta, who is the Director of Product Management for Windows Live Instant Messaging. And we're going to be talking about social networking, and we're going to be talking about microblogging and messaging. So, Dharmesh, please, tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do at Microsoft.
Hey, Lon. Thanks for the intro. So, as Lon said, I'm a Director of Product Management for Windows Live, and I cover our instant messaging and social networking businesses. So that covers everything from Windows Live Messenger to Spaces and Groups to our profile page, what's new, our photo sharing. And so it's really about all those real-time as well as asynchronous sharing solutions that we have that span your PC as well as the web.
Wow, that's a big mouthful. Can we talk more, specifically about Windows Live Messenger? The more research I do on this, and I've done quite a bit of it for the book, I'm impressed. This is really an incredible product. Can you tell us more about this?
So Windows Live Messenger has been around about 9.5 years now. We originally launched it back in 1999, and it was pretty much focused on just being an IM chat solution. But what you've seen over the years is, as we've continued to grow, we turned that from text chat and added voice and video. We then added photo sharing and games. We've added a ton of personal expressions, so you can change your display pictures and record videos with your webcam. Allow you to have both those real-time conversations, but also asynchronous offline instant messages. And today, Windows Live Messenger is actually used by more than 325 million people worldwide. And so It's come a long way over the last 9.5 years, and we hope to see that growth continue.
Well, that's absolutely amazing. 325 million is a really huge audience. And it's not just IM, from what I'm hearing. I mean, you can send files, you can send video, you can send photographs, and is it just as easy as drag and drop?
Yep. So, you have your contacts in your Messenger main window, and you can start a chat with them, and it's not just about chat. You can share files, just drag them right into there. And actually, one of the latest things we just added is a really rich photo sharing. So you drag photos in, you can look at a set of photos with one of your buddies, or you can, at the same time, change what photo you're looking at while you're commenting and chatting about them. You can save them to your desktop, or you can save them up to the cloud and share them through SkyDrive and have them permanently shared up where others can see them. And again, you can share that just with a couple of your contacts, or you can open it up to the whole internet.
And again, that's one of the things that I find absolutely amazing is really you're taking the best of so many different social media tools. You got the IM, you got the photo sharing, and you're actually combining it simultaneously. So you can get people simultaneously on the same call and look at photographs and discuss them and save them and edit them, and all at the same time?
Yep, completely agree with you. It's actually for a while, people felt like, you have this siloed photo sharing application and you have this siloed IM application and your siloed email application. But really, you're people, and you have one set of people you want to interact with. Some you might want to do some things with, and some another set of things. But whether you're in IM or you're up on the web or you're on your mobile phone, we want to make sure you can get to your stuff. So whether that's photos or files or being able to have real-time chat, we kind of want to bring that context to you wherever you happen to be.
And there's another key word. I just finished writing the chapter on mobile, and I had absolutely no idea the impact that mobile cellular phones are going to have on social networking and social media. And your technology is also available and compatible with mobile phones?
Yep. So we offer a couple different things on mobile phones. So the first is, for our PC users, when you're there chatting with someone and all of a sudden they go offline because they're no longer on their PC, the fact of the matter is many of those people are actually online on their phone, and they can receive SMS alerts. And so we have connections from the PC and the web messaging experiences straight to your phone. And so that's the first one. But the one that I'm more excited about, and it continues to be growing really rapidly, is about the fact that when you're on your mobile phone, you now actually have far more phones that are data capable. And so whether that's browse services for IMing and photo sharing, whether that's doing little microblogging and updating your status, or even on some of the higher-end phones, whether it's Windows Mobile or BlackBerry or Nokia, and actually having rich client applications. Obviously we have to design them slightly differently. The context is different. There's a different user experience because of the fact that you're always reachable on your phone, but you may not want to always be reachable. Mm-hmm. But it's actually really exciting what's happening on the mobile phone, and it's it's two things. It's one, bringing the things that people have been doing on PC and the web and extending them to the phone. But then in some countries, users are coming online on the phone, and they may never, ever get on a PC and may never get, download apps onto a Windows PC. But you want to make sure they can have those great mobile experiences straight from their phone.
Yeah, and that's really exciting, too, is that that you guys do support mobile phone technology, because in some previous interviews with Flickr and Amanda Vega, I learned that there's actually 3 cell phones for every human being on the planet right now.
Yep.
That's amazing. And also, one of the things that I didn't realize is that in third world countries and countries not quite as affluent as Europe and the United States, a lot of people simply can't afford PCs, so their entire life, all of their communication, their web browsing, their email, everything has to be done on a cell phone. It's kind of their all-in-one technology. Yep,
completely agree. And it's interesting the different scenarios you encounter in some of these countries where your phone not only becomes, SMS on your phone becomes not only just a way to have short chats with people, but it's also a great way of getting little bits of information. So you send a short, SMS text message and you get the weather, you get your latest calendar appointment, or you find out, do a web search. So these are all things that, are done slightly differently depending on the type of phone you have and the type of user you are. And mobile is actually a really exciting space for us, just from amount of growth and amount of, different possibilities that are coming.
So that's pretty cool. So I'm sitting here working on my PC, and I'm chatting with somebody, I'm looking at photographs, and then I have to leave to go to a meeting. I can actually just pick up the conversation from my cell phone while I'm driving in the car.
Yep. Continue it on from your car, and you can actually have those pictures there with you, too.
That's absolutely terrific. I love that. Wow. What's your typical demographic? Who is actually using Windows Live Messenger?
So Windows Live Messenger today, those 325 million people span the world. And so we are actually far more of an international company than just being U.S.-focused than some of the other instant messaging companies. And, in terms of demographic, it spans everyone. So it's all the way from, young teens to even younger than that, all the way up to, adults and seniors. We recently did some report looking specifically at a fast-growing demographic of the 70-plus population that's, starting to come online and wanting to chat with their grandkids and share photos and talk to them. And it's interesting how, IM, which once upon a time was really just, restricted to almost a college student and, very young age range, has really brought in to pretty much all people on the planet.
Well, that's one
internet connected.
Yeah. And the 2 things that I heard you mention is that you hear older generation. And when we did the research for the Social Media Bible, what we found is that you're absolutely right. The young kids who grew up on all this technology, this is kind of second nature to them. The Generation Ys and the Generation Xs, they're with it, but they're more kind of email-ish. But then when you actually get it into 50 and above, the people have a tendency to be a little apprehensive. But you're saying even retired people, grandparents are using it. So it means that this is a really easy technology to get into.
Yeah, and I think, completely agree with you that at first reaction, some of the older age ranges can be a little apprehensive, but I think some of the things we found work really well and really get people in is, just some of the basics of, hey, we've got a webcam and we can now have a web chat, and although I live on the other side of the country, I can have a real interaction with my, kids and grandkids. I can share photos with them. I can have a photo frame that's constantly syncing pictures with the cloud and pulling down the latest things that my grandkids are publishing from their mobile phone. And it's some of those scenarios that really sell some of the folks that have been a little more apprehensive about technology.
Yeah, and the fact that it's easy, that's what I really...
You got to make it easy.
Yeah, you really do. And the other thing that I'm excited to hear you say is that too often when we talk about social media and technology, we just look at kind of U.S.-centric, like we're the center of the world, when in fact there's a whole rest of the world out there. And what you're saying is 325 million people kind of dispersed throughout the entire planet.
Yep. And I'd say, more than 85% of those are actually outside the U.S. And it's an interesting trend that you talked about. Often sitting here in the U.S., we get very U.S.-focused, and we often think that a lot of technologies start here in the U.S. and spread to other parts of the world. But, going back to that discussion we had on mobile, some of the most interesting things in mobile are actually happening in Asia, whether that's Japan and South Korea or in India and China, where users are coming online on mobile and may never use a PC. So I think there's a ton that from a global perspective, we're learning and discovering from other players, other competitors, and companies just around the world.
Wow. So because this is really such a simple technology, there really isn't any language barriers here.
Nope. So we support over 55 different languages in a variety of different countries with different dialects, and it's actually one of the great things that we can do here at Microsoft, just because we're used to this. Hey, we're a global company, and we know how to localize, and not just localize from a language perspective, but it's also the experience. And so what instant messaging looks like here in the U.S. might be very different than what a Korean user or a French user wants to see. For instance, in France, you look at a lot of our instant messaging experiences, and there's far more media and content in there. And so it's about video sharing, and it's about keeping up to date on the latest celebrities, whereas here in the U.S., instant messaging is a little bit more focused on just core communications. And so, again, it's that regional flexibility, not just in language, but also in how the users in that country want to experience the product.
And because this technology is so flexible, you don't have to hit any cultural barriers either.
Exactly. And as is so key to social networking, you got to figure out how we balance what we do, as a global company, but then where we let developers and partners plug in, and again, just extend those experiences more and more.
That's cool. Because the Social Media Bible really is intended as kind of a business book, is there businesses actually using Windows Live Messenger?
Yep, so there's two big ways that businesses use Windows Live Messenger. The first is, in every business, the folks sitting at every desk, the IT end users, are really consumers when they leave work. And so we got to make it really easy for IT pros to be able to manage, deploy, and get Windows Live Messenger on those desktops, whether it's from an OEM or on their own, and then be able to manage them through things like group policy. Because when you're at work and you're talking to one of your coworkers, you want to be able to show them the same photos that you were showing one of your other friends. You want to be able to get in touch with the same set of contacts, whether that's your family or your friends or other people you interact with. So we definitely do that. The second thing you see is there's a lot of instant messaging and social experiences that are more designed for enterprises, whether that's things like Office Communications Server and IBM Same Time or SharePoint services, things like that. And those are great for a lot of larger businesses that often want to, create an entire infrastructure and manage it. But for smaller and mid-sized businesses, often they're just looking for a light instant messaging solution. And so Windows Live Messenger is great for those guys too. It not only gives them, again, the chat and everything, but some of the things they really value is, those file sharing and kind of calendar management and being able to post files up to the cloud and have private file storage just for their company. Those are things we try to make really easy too.
So if I was working with a team within an enterprise, let's say either a design team or even a marketing team, and I was traveling, I could have them in a group, and I could instant message them ideas and keep everybody kind of communicating and exchange files?
Yep, and actually groups is one of the things that in our latest release we've actually invested in a lot. And so it's not only all the things you described, but that group could be a persistent, group in your experience. And so every time anyone in that group comes online, you can chat with everyone with one click all at the same time and have like a virtual chat room. And then you have your own kind of file store in the cloud where whether it's sharing documents or sharing photos or keeping a group calendar, and you can have those all in the cloud. You can have them, through Messenger, or you could, integrate them into Outlook. And so if you happen to sit in Outlook all day, but you want to get into your Windows Live Messenger contacts or your calendar, you can pull all those straight into Outlook too.
Wow. So really, this is for everybody from the entrepreneur up to a Fortune 500 company.
Yep, we definitely go for the breadth.
Yes, you do. Geez. And you and I understand the term cloud, but for some of the other listeners who aren't quite familiar, could you just define putting your stuff and recalling it from the cloud?
Yeah, so I would just generally describe the cloud as it's almost like a hard drive in the internet somewhere. And so that hard drive, you might decide, hey, everyone can access that hard drive, and it's a set of files and photos and experiences, and anyone can get to it, or I can decide it's my private hard drive, and I'm the only one who can get there, or something in between, where some people maybe can see it and other people can edit it. But it's the internet almost ether that's out there, that's where all the websites and all the file storing and photos and everything live.
Okay, so it's kind of like having an internet hard drive. So if I'm on the road, let's say, and I'm in Miami and I need to access some photographs, all I have to do is just use my instant messaging and just pull them off.
Yep, so through Windows Live you could pull them off, and they'd be sitting in SkyDrive, and you might be able to do that you might want to do that from your PC when you're traveling, or you might want to do it from your mobile phone. And again, it's how you make that really easy no matter where you are, because it's your hard drive, right? They're your files, your photos. You should be able to get to them when you want.
That really is easy. Let me ask the ultimate question here. So is the SkyDrive an expensive service?
So SkyDrive is free. SkyDrive is completely free, and actually we just announced that SkyDrive is going up to 25 gigs. So
Whoa.
25 gigabytes of storage for free.
Whoa, serious?
Yep. Windows Live Messenger is completely free. The entire set of Windows Live services and client applications, all entirely free. And we make our money through advertising, and advertisers are there sometimes in your standard, advertisements that you see on things, but often the advertisers are the one who are building games and branded experiences and cool themes and, pictures you can share with your friends. And so there are many different ways that advertisers plug in, but to you, everything is free.
Wow. And you know what? I don't mind advertisers, especially now with your ability to really target the advertisements really to what my likes and dislikes are.
Yep. And advertisers completely, what they want to do is reach the person who cares about them. And so for us, the goal we're always trying to do is how do we make advertising as useful for the consumer or the person who's using our services, because at the end of the day, that's good for you and it's good for the advertiser.
See, that's a nice thing to hear. You don't often hear people saying making advertisers or advertisements good to the user. It's usually just spamming. But you're absolutely right. The advertisements that do come through are very targeted and useful.
Yep, that's definitely our goal.
That's great. You had mentioned that you're bringing on some new features. Is there any kind of insights or secrets you could tell us, our listeners, about some of the new features you guys are going to be releasing?
Yep, so right now we have a beta that's out that we released just about 2 months ago, and we're polishing that up. We've been getting a bunch of feedback before we get the final release out. A lot of what you'll start to see is, for many years, Windows Live had Messenger and we had Hotmail, and they were kind of two standalone services, one for IM and one for email. What we've really started to do over the last year, and what you'll see a ton more of, is how you weave together the fact that there's a bunch of social things people want to do, and sometimes it's IM and chat, sometimes it's email, sometimes it's photo sharing, sometimes it's stuff that's not even on Windows Live. So when I'm on Windows Live, and I've got a feed going of everything happening on Windows Live, it'd be great if I didn't just get my updates from Windows Live, but I also got, what am I doing on Flickr? What am I doing on Twitter? And so a lot of what we're really investing in is the fact that, hey, you're one user, and you want to have one place where you can kind of manage all the stuff going on, across your different websites and services that you use. And so we've signed up a ton of partners. We're continuing to sign up more so that you can kind of have that one place to see what's going on with all your contacts and all the things they're doing across the internet. Make that really easy for you so you don't have to go to 15 websites with 15 logins and passwords and everything.
That really is important, because with all of the different social media websites out there, and you just mentioned, okay, Flickr's a competitor, but a lot of people have a lot of content on there.
Yep.
So you're actually going to interface with a competitor.
So I look at them as, they're a competitor, but they're also a partner. And so, we'd love you to use our photo sharing experience, but we fully realize a lot of people use Flickr, and some of those people may never want to switch. And so we'll make Windows Live work great with Flickr too.
See, that's a great attitude, and that's why it's going to be successful.
Yep.
I love that. Is there any kind of a customer success story that you might be able to share?
So one of my favorites is actually one of the folks that works for me. It's actually a funny story about Windows Live Messenger. He, one of his best friends, back when he was in graduate school, met a woman, and the two of them met, and they exchanged IM, addresses, and they started chatting, and they were just friends. And there was one night where they just started talking and maybe flirting a little, and they considered that their first date, where he actually asked her out right over Messenger.
Wow.
And, it was kind of funny that, he was a little shy, and so he used Messenger to first ask her out. They dated for a while. They traveled while they were remote. Messenger was the way, they would have video chats with each other, and it's kind of how they kept in touch. Later they got engaged, and, they were getting close to their wedding. And as they were getting ready for their wedding, people start getting sentimental and thinking back on, what are all the things we've done, or what are the experiences really shared that we want to relive. And Messenger was actually one of the things. And so, just before the wedding, they planned to have one final date on Messenger. And so it was just a funny story and a great example of how, something so simple as just, an IM application that's become so much more. And it's really about how people stay in touch, lets them express themselves, and really, really brings people together, sometimes into permanent bonds of marriage.
That is pretty amazing. I mean, talk about trusted network.
Yep.
I mean, they just started with an IM, and then their whole relationship built. And what's kind of cool is they brought it around back again, full circle.
Yeah.
That is really neat. Yeah, look, hey, you contributed to the happiness of a couple's life.
Yep, we love doing things like that.
That is a great story. Wow. You shared a couple of the stats. Can you summarize some of the statistics about what's going on with you guys?
Yep, so we, as I said, we're over 325 million people worldwide. 85% plus is international, so outside of the U.S., spanning, over 55 different languages, a bunch of different dialects and customizations from there. We've passed a ton of messages, and so between those 325 million people, they have tens of billions of contact relationships between those people. And, in the short time that you and I have been talking, our users will send over about 100, 150 million messages just in this short time.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Those are staggering statistics. Those are huge.
So our servers are busy for sure.
Jeez. So we'd mentioned mobile earlier. So this is something that you're committed to, and you're going to be bringing on new apps and new partners?
Definitely. And so mobile for us spans what I describe as 3 different layers. So there's a layer that's around SMS services, and those pretty much apply to every phone out on the planet. Then there's a layer of services that we'll offer that are what we call browse services. So you access them from a web browser on your mobile phone. So any mobile phone that they often call them WAP capable, and that's actually a pretty large proportion of phones these days. And then our highest end and most rich applications and experiences on mobile are what we call client applications for the phone. And there you really need a smartphone. And, again, we'll build stuff for Windows Mobile, and we'd love for you to get a Windows Mobile phone, but we realize there's a lot of people out there that have Nokia or BlackBerry or other just Java phones. And so we'll build client applications for all of those, too.
Wow. You guys obviously got it down when it comes to social networking and social media. Are there some other different platforms that you guys might be able to, you're working on, you might be able to mention?
So, the biggest thing we're doing within Windows Live right now is the fact that, to some of what we spoke about earlier, it's really about bringing all those social experiences into the context of where you are. So when you're an IM, we've got now a What's New feed that shows you all the photo sharing and feeds and updates and all the things going on across your network. And we'll do that with Hotmail, too. And so it's really about bringing social into your other experiences so you don't have to go somewhere else just to find these things. And that's really the big focus for Windows Live. The other thing you'll see Microsoft doing is on the enterprise side, we have, and for those business users, we have SharePoint services. And so SharePoint services and SharePoint in general kind of grew up originally as more of a document management and file repository. And what you've noticed is enterprises, just like consumers, are becoming more and more social. And so SharePoint has continued to evolve. You've now got people's profiles and their expertise. You've got the ability to, manage stuff at the same time, create team sites, create groups. The thing you'll see differently is SharePoint, obviously, as it's more focused on enterprise, will think more about things like knowledge management and archival and IT group policy and things like that, whereas Windows Live will obviously focus more on some of the more consumer scenarios around, having fun and interacting with your friends and family.
Wow. Okay, so not only do you have products specifically for consumers, and then you have this crossover of the live messaging that small businesses and even large businesses can use to keep in touch with their teams, but then you've got an entire enterprise division that's really taking social media and social networking as serious. Yep,
definitely. And the thing is, there's some fundamental stuff between the two that's the same, and so, whether it's like, hey, you want to have one login and one password, or, files are files, and so you want to be able to get to those files from either. And so we'll make some of those connections very easy between the two, but there are definitely some differences too. So, the policy and archiving requirements for a legal firm are quite different from what, my mother would need when she's sharing photos with me. And so probably won't show up in our consumer experiences, but definitely would show up in our enterprise experiences.
True. Okay, so, I can't wait to take advantage of these services. 25 gigabytes and IM messaging and video and everything that we discussed, plus it's absolutely free. That's the thing that's amazing. That's what I love about social media. The next question, obviously, is how does somebody get started? Where do they go?
Yep, so the first place you should go is download.live.com. That's where you can download all of our client applications. The latest beta is currently sitting there, and that will soon, very soon, be updated to our final version. And the only thing you'll need to get started is a Windows Live ID. So if you've got a Hotmail account or a Messenger account or any of those, you've already got one. It's basically your email address. And if you don't, you can basically use any email address you already have. So even if it's a Yahoo account or a Gmail account, you can just use that as your login to get in.
Wow.
And that's where you get started with Windows Live Messenger.
Oh, geez. Well, this is terrific. A lot of good data in here. I'm going to have to listen to this podcast a couple times myself. Is there anything else that you can add? Any other new ideas or thoughts or summary that our listeners may benefit from?
Well, the last thing I tell you is use this on your PC, use this on the web, use this on the mobile phone, and definitely give us your feedback. We'd love to hear what you're thinking, what you're liking, what you're not liking. We're always looking to improve.
And that's what I love to hear, too, is that you actually listen to the customers. Time and time again, just this morning I interviewed Gary Vaynerchuk, and the most important thing that he said is that he answers every single email, he reads them all, because that's how he understands what his customers are wanting. And I'm hearing that Microsoft and you do exactly the same thing. You listen to the customers.
Definitely. If we're not listening to them, we're not able to get our product out. You got to listen to the customer.
You got to love that attitude. I appreciate that so much. I really do. So in closing, Dharmesh Mehta, thank you so very much for being here.
No, thank you for having me.
Geez, and this has been Dharmesh Mehta, the Director in Product Management for Windows Live Instant Messaging. And this was totally cool, talking about community building and instant messaging. This is so cool. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and I'm looking forward to seeing the Social Media Bible.
I appreciate that. And this has been Lon Safko, the co-author of the Social Media Bible. Be sure to check out our other valuable social media tactics, tools, and strategies that can be found in the Social Media Bible book and its companion website, www.thesocialmediabible.com. And for more information about me, Lon Safko, please visit www.lonsafko.com. And again, Dharmesh, thank you again for taking the time.
No problem, anytime.